Hey guys, welcome back to me, Gimpy. We are back for turn 2 of a short hop scenario in Lock and Load Publishing's A Day of Heroes. I cannot tell you how glad I am to have this back to the table after playing with shitty counters for the past couple of days. God, that was driving me nuts. Some of y'all were commenting on the fact that Decision Games component quality is crap, and it is. Decision Games, if you hear this, these are counters. What you gave me was paper. I'm sorry. Meh. It is what it is. That bing you heard is actually someone asking me some questions for filming. I'm going to address that actually right now for you guys. I've been getting a few different questions about a few different things. So I'm going to slow it down real quick, go over a couple things on where I'm getting my numbers. And part of it's when I'm playing the game, I'm getting excited, I'm shooting the bad guy, and I'm all thrilled with it. And I understand I might not be showing you guys as well as I could be where I'm getting my numbers, how I'm getting my numbers, and all that stuff. So I'm going to give just a quick little explanation here of your modifiers and all that good stuff and how you're going to determine whether or not someone's hit and all that good stuff. One other thing, when I watched the video previously, these dice are cool, but it's hard for you guys to see it. So I'm going to leave them over to the side. If I happen to need to roll an extra die, I'll use it, but I'll stick with these, which are much easier for you guys to see. One of the first questions I got was something about the Somalis and the Americans and how a guy who was posting some of his pictures from a game he was playing, he was getting beat up by the Somali players and how he could counteract that. The big advantage that the American units have in A Day of Heroes, not to mention the higher firepower and better equipment and vehicles and things of that nature, is they have the ability to assault move. So if you look right here, these two stacks of units, if the Somali player, just as a basic example, if the Somali player wants to attack this stack of American units, they have to move to do so, and that constitutes their impulse. So once they've moved, unless they low crawl here, and even if they did low crawl there, they'd be spotted. They would have to low crawl, at least one space away, but they burn their impulse. They can't move and shoot, while the elite American units do have that ability and are genuinely faster than the Somali units. So try to use that to your advantage. Try to move around, make them chase you a little bit. Keep line of sight blocked when you can so they don't get as many shots off on you. One of the things I've kind of noticed when I set this up, I kind of set it up kind of like I would do for other Op4 units, which are opposing forces units. And I'm not sure if that's the right strategy. I'm going to continue to play it out as I have been, but the Somali units die off so quickly. And A Day of Heroes, I'm wondering if it might be better to have a leader with a support weapon in one squad, or maybe two squads at most, and then to have, and look, I'm knocking them all the hell over, and have more units spread out around. So you might not be firing with one big attack, but you're getting a whole bunch more little attacks. I think I'll definitely try that on my next go around with Day of Heroes, which who knows when that's going to be, because I've got a lot more other stuff planned. But in your games, I would probably try that. If you're playing this module, try having one or two counters in a stack maxed around the board. It's going to give you multiple angles of fire, and when the massive firepower of the Americans is hitting back, at most they're causing 1 to 2 casualties, instead of like happened here where a whole stack went down in a couple of hits because I hit them so hard. That's just my opinion on it. I did notice in my previous video that this stack, the leader here, I forgot about his little 1 leader modifier that was to be used. It was either when he was attacking or defending, I forget which. Either way, when I went back and looked at the numbers, it wouldn't have mattered, so no big deal, but something to keep in mind. Now, the thing about how I get the numbers, I'm going to do just a quick rundown of it before we get started. Okay, say these buildings weren't blocking these two guys and this American unit wanted to shoot this stack of Somali units. What you're going to do is you're going to add up the firepower that you have in the hex of guys shooting, okay, plus your leadership. So in this we have a leader and 2 squads, and one of the squad has a support weapon, which is the M60. We're going to bring that up so you guys can see that. That number 2 is the firepower, 10 is its range. All right, what's on the back of this thing? Okay, it's M60 front and back. Okay, now when you have a full squad taking and attacking with a support weapon, they get to add in their inherent firepower, which is that number 3. 3 is their firepower, 6 is their range, 4 is movement, and again, the red square means assault movement, so they can move up to half of 4, so they can move 2 and still shoot, okay? Now, if they had 2 support weapons, say they had 2 M60s, they could not add the 3. So it's actually better for them to have their inherent firepower since it is so high. So this unit would be firing with a 5. I just dropped them. Okay, here they are. With a 5. So you're going to add that to the next unit that's in the stack and any support weapons they might have. This unit's a 3. Don't worry about the 40 mic that they're carrying for this example. You'll see that as I play through the game. So right now we're up to an 8 firepower, okay? The leader adds his number. The top number is morale. Next one, the 1 is the number, his leadership value that you're adding, and the 6 is his movement. You guys, by the way, keep in mind that I am doing tutorial videos. They take more time than you would assume with the fact that they're only a couple minute long videos, but there's a lot of prep involved with them. I am gonna get all the rules down and into those little videos, so you'll have small little segments and you can just watch a 2-minute video on anything that you're confused about with examples. But going through the whole rule book is going to take me some time, so just bear with me as I get to it, okay? Now back to our example. Remember, we were up to 8 with the squad and 9 with the leader added in, okay? So 2 for the support weapon, 3 for the squad that's carrying the support weapon, that's 5, 3 for the next squad above, that goes to 8, and 1 for the leader, so that's 9. That's where I'm getting that number. If it's an assault move, you're subtracting 2, but I'll get into the die roll modifiers here in just a sec. The defenders, in this case the Somali squad, like I said, I understand it's blocking terrain in between them, it's just an example. You're going to have their target modifier. The target modifier is going to be listed on your big chart here, your player aid card, by the images of all these terrain that you can have. This is why I call it terrain modifier, but it's target modifier. Right here's where it's listed, and this is the bonus that defenders get. That's why they want to be in a place that gives them a positive modifier. In Day of Heroes, most of the terrain doesn't give you very much. 2 is the most that you can get out of red dotted buildings. In other modules, you can get up to 4, basically. If snipers can have up to 8, but we're not touching on that just yet. But 4 is generally the max that you're going to have, okay? Depending on your terrain. So these guys have a terrain modifier of 1 since they're in a black dotted building, okay? That's where we get the basic numbers. And then you're going to add in any modifiers, which are going to be listed here. And honestly, this is something I should take and use more often because I get so excited and I'm so into it and focused on what I'm doing, I end up missing these sometimes. The leadership modifier. If the unit's adjacent, you're going to add 2. Target a non-vehicle unit marked with a moved or assault moved marker. That's one that I forget constantly, because I get so excited about what I'm doing. That adds it. And this, if you go down the list, is going to show you all the different modifiers for the attack, whether it's helicopters, vehicles, any other good stuff that can happen. Helicopter ones down here are ones I'm going to have to keep track of because my helicopters enter this turn. Either attacking it or being the target of one while is in flying mode, -2. That's one to keep in mind. So make sure you take and go through this, and then it addresses your combined fire, opportunity fire, op fire, and all that, the assault move down here. Certain ones are going to have different scenarios, but these are your basic rules, which are basically the same for all the modules. The difference in this one is the Somalis add a 1 firepower for each extra squad, and that's because these guys have all, for the most part, 0 firepower. So they're a little bit different. But for example, when you're taking and the only units in the same square can combine it, and actually, yep, see, this is one that I just goofed on. Their total firepower is actually 8, not 9, because the second group is having theirs halved and then rounded up. So it comes down to 1.5 rounded up to 2. You always round up in lock and load. And I understand these games have a lot of rules with them. You're trying to simulate, combat as best that you can. Everyone is not going to remember every rule. I don't. Very few war gamers do. You do your best as you go through. Don't feel bad about it if you're new to the game. If you miss a rule here or there, it's not going to be the end of the world, and more than likely it's going to help you remember it on the next one. But like I said, your best bet is to take and just walk down this list just like I did. I'll try to do that on some more turns during this game to help show people. Now, in our example, like I said, 8 instead of 9 because of my little goof there. Terrain modifier 1, and this is where you're going to go to your dice. Brown is for our Somalis, white is for our Americans. I find it's easier for me to take and pick a color for a certain side. Generally, with lock and load titles, they're going to each come with 2 dice, and one of the dice is going to be colored towards a specific faction. I've noticed the Russian boxes like Red Star or Heroes of Motherland, they come with a red dice. So use the red dice for the Russians. Things of that nature. The American one here is a Normandy, came with a white and a green, so the green goes to the Americans. In this case, white is for Americans, brown is Somalis, and you're going to take and roll your dice, and then you're going to compare. So let me pull it out so you guys can see it. It was a 5 and a 4, set it down there, for the Somalis. Now what you're going to do is you're going to add your firepower to your die roll, okay? So the Americans have a 13, and then the defender is going to add their target modifier, terrain modifier as I love to call it, to their die roll. They got a 5 total, okay? The difference between those is what number you roll on the chart. If the defender's number is higher than the attacker's number, nothing happens. Higher or equal to, nothing happens. There's nothing to roll on. Only if the attacker has a number higher after you have your difference do the defenders roll on the DFT table, direct fire table, which is this part here, okay? So in our example, 8 plus 5 is 13, minus 5 gets us back down to 8, okay? So they are rolling on an 8 here. Well, the Somali counters are going to be here, and then it tells you depending on what the rest are. If it's a leader, you're going to roll here on good order SMC. That's single man counter, not a hero. All right, heroes are going to be here, and heroes are a little different because they don't have shaking on the back. Where's one of my heroes? Flip it up. See, it's got the wounded marker directly on the back instead of shaking. So you're rolling here instead, and it says hero or shaken SMC. So if you have a leader that's already shaken, then he's going to be rolling on this chart as well. 2 wounds is a death. Eliminated is obviously destroyed. And then you have your vehicle results down over here. So you're going to take and start with your leader and then roll for each unit in there. In our example, let's stack them out so you guys can see here. This is why I love the X maps, because it gives me so much space. Okay. The reason you want to start with your leader is because if the leader doesn't get wounded or shaken or get messed up, his leadership modifier can help the rest of the squads. Okay. In this case, since we're hitting with such a high firepower difference against them, more than likely he's going to get messed up, and his leadership is a 0 anyway, so he's not really helping his guys. But the number you're looking for is that number in the top right. That's his morale. It's going to be the same for all the guys, and that's the number you're rolling against. Okay, so let's take their die and roll. The leader got a 4. All right, flick it back. 4 plus the 8 differential comes to a 12. And then you're going to compare that 12 here on the chart against his morale, okay? 12 is more than double, but not equal to or 3 times his morale. So you're going to follow that over to the column that he's in at the moment, which leader's here, and see that he's going to take a wound, okay? And you're going to do that exact same thing for each one of the other counters. So on these guys, since they, well, no, this one's got a 5, so we'll start with him. You would roll him 5 against, flick around, I'm dropping it. This counter rolled a 5, okay, but he actually has caught, which for this example we're just going to ignore. It adds 1 to his morale, but just ignore it for our example. 13 is his total number because we're again adding the difference plus the die roll. 13 is more than double, but not equal to or greater than 3 times, so he's going to be here, which is going to cause casualties, which will flip his counter to the other side. You're going to do that for each one of the counters on down the line until you've finished. Some counters might end up shaken, killed, wounded, casualties, just depends. But yeah, that's pretty much the gist of how I'm getting all my numbers as I go through. When you're doing other things such as ordnance fire, you're going to get to that point of rolling against their morale as you walk down through the chart. I'm not going to get into ordnance right now because I want to get the game started, because I'm already at 20 minutes. I might end up breaking this video into 2 chunks if I take too long on it. When I do have ordnance going on here, when one of them's firing an RPG, I'll slow that down and kind of walk through what I'm doing on it, and I'll try to do the same on the helicopters. You guys do bear with me if I'm not perfect on helicopters, because this is the first game I'm actually using helicopters. I haven't played with them up until this point. Most of my games had been with the World War II era stuff, so they didn't have helicopters. I hope that covered your question. If not, please message me again, and I'll be happy to address it further. Like I said, keep an eye out. I am going to keep getting those tutorial videos up as quickly as I can. It's just going to take me time. I'm working on ways to be able to film a little bit more. I have to wait until I've got a quiet space, but I think I've got that covered in such a way I might not have to. We'll have to see what happens. Like I said, Red Star is going to be the next game module played. If you have a specific scenario you're looking for, let me know. Otherwise, I've got one in mind that I think will be cool, and it's going to take up this whole poster frame. The map is. I'll have to use the smaller one just so you guys will be able to see it, but it's going to look awesome. hit the shooting thing. I touched on the fact that I missed his leadership. The only other thing that I wanted to point out is about the solo cards. The way I use them is what works for me. Everybody can use them in their own way. I've heard of some people taking and using these, that they'll draw a card and let it make the choice for one side, and then draw a card and let it make the choice for the other side. Really, you need to use it for what works for you. I love the fact that I can take this and I can play a battle in Somalia and downtown Mogadishu of Rangers and Delta versus the Somali militia, and then I can pick this up and I can play Americans versus Russians in a fictitious World War III, and then I can pick that up and I can play Germans versus the French in World War II, and I can do it all with these cards. That tickles me. But the general way I use them is I'll see what order it's suggesting, and then generally pick which unit is going to work with that order the best. That's what works for me. I've seen some people who will take and roll off, like say my 3 main forces left here for the Somalis, not counting our couple of little single counters over here, that they roll on a 1-2 it'd be this, 3-4 would be this one, 5-6 would be these, and then draw a card. So these are great in the fact that you can use it for you to have a fun, entertaining solo game that you will enjoy, and you can tweak it to what works best for you. You don't have to take and do what I do or what everyone else does. Play it how it works best for you, and as long as you're having fun, it doesn't matter. Okay, sorry guys, I know I ran it for a little bit and I've been talking about everything. I do hope that covered your questions. If it didn't, like I said, please message me. I am always happy to take and touch on anything anyone might be confused by. I did realize after I started this one that it didn't have ground vehicles in it. I was thinking helicopters, I'm good. Red Star, I am going to make sure that I've got tanks on ground, weapon teams, and all that good stuff. I apologize for missing on this one. Thing about Day of Heroes, there's only one tank in the game. They've got Humvees and technicals. You know, it's not as vast in vehicles as some of the other modules. Okay, let's get started. Before we do, there is something. Where's my chart here? Okay, this little part here, block unit generation. This happens. Okay. We've got 2 roadblocks here that are going to possibly generate units for the Somalis. We're going to do this before we roll off on initiative. You roll 2d6, and depending on what's rolled, units may or may not be spawned with support weapons. So let's see what happens for this top roadblock here. They got an 8. Ooh, they get a 034 unit, which is another just regular one of their counters. This is what I'm talking about. They're going to have guys coming out, and I'm going to roll for possible support weapons. Oh. Look at this. I'm killing myself dropping dice over here. I'm getting too old for this. All right, see what they get. They got a 2, which is no support weapon. 1, 2, 3 is no support weapon. 4, 5 is an RPG, and 6 is an RPD. So they got an extra guy there. And let's see what's going to happen with this other roadblock. Another 8, so they get another multi-man counter down here. And roadblocks do have a target modifier of 1, by the way, so those guys are technically in cover where they're at. Let's see if it does. Yep, it has it here. Oh, I didn't even notice Rebel's got a target modifier of 3. Look at that. Huh, cool. Yeah, there's actually some rubble here. Here. I was thinking those were the same as buildings. Learn something new each day. Alright, let's take and roll off on our initiative. Let me see where the die is. See if you guys can see that as well. I don't know when that damn dice tower is coming in. I'm hoping that guy mails that thing up soon. Alright, they have initiative, so the Somalis are going to start first. That is not good for me. Let's take and just draw the card, see what works best for them. Remember, these counters up here do have me spotted. but there's nothing really up here. These guys I doubt are going to want to come into melee with me. I don't think they'll survive, but this group does have line of sight on these Delta guys, and I think it'd be good for them to do some shooting. So let's see what the card says. Range 1, enter melee, overrun if firepower is greater than the target. Range 2, fire, lay, smoke, move. There's no off-board artillery mortars. Highest firepower enemy unit closest to player unit that just acted. None of my guys acted. Nobody's shaken yet. Highest firepower enemy unit farthest from highest firepower player unit, fire. Basically, this is telling me fire. Okay, they have a line of sight. Actually, this is something else that I just noticed. These guys are range 2. Look here, range 2, fire, and because of this spawning here, these guys are now lit up. They're spotted. So these guys have line of sight as my guys were going to be pushing this way. That is their absolute best move right now. We're going to go with that. Let me walk it out here, see what these guys have. Ooh, they got RPG. Is that RPG? Yeah, it's RPG. I didn't know if it was RPG or D. They got those guys with RPG. Another unit, and this guy's got an RPD. Okay, so that's 2, 3, 4, 5. Wow, they've got some serious firepower here. They're going to be hitting, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then they're also going to be firing with a RPG. Now, let me show you where I'm getting this. The leader has his RPD. That is a machine gun. Focusing. Range of 6, firepower of 1. And speaking of which, if you're looking for the COT marker or the counter, it's on the back of the RPD. I could never find the damn thing. And I'm having a brain fart. I think his leadership modifier still gets added to that, even if he's firing a support weapon. Yeah, we're gonna go with yeah, because I'm not gonna waste a whole bunch of time trying to look that up. Okay, so real quick on the Somalis on how we're getting our number. Technically, the first Somali firing is going to be this guy, their best guy. That first one has a firepower of 1. That's their better group of guys. Remember, for the Somalis, for each extra counter after the first, you add 1 to their firepower. So even though those guys have a 0 firepower, they're adding 1 in totality. So if this guy's firepower was 0, these 3 would have a firepower of 2. Okay, and then when we add that to the leader, we get ourselves 5 total firepower, and his little support weapon and all that good stuff. And then, like I said, you have to handle ordnance weapons separately. You're not adding that into it, so we'll deal with that after we do their firepower. And this is very muy bad for me because I am in the middle of the road. I have no cover, so my guys might be getting devastated. You can see how on the previous turn, the solo module suggested movement for these guys. Now, yes, they didn't say move them to this square. I did make the call, move them to the very best spot for themselves, which was the highest terrain target modifier square here, which also blocked my guys coming through. So well-laid plan is now going up my well-laid ass. So let's see what happens here. Get my guys stacked back up. Well, it doesn't matter, I'm getting ready to take them off the board. White is going to be for me, brown is going to be for the Somalis, and I'm adding 0 while they're adding 5 to theirs. So let's see what happens. Oh my God, they have got to be pissed. Can you guys see that? Yeah, you can pretty much see it. They rolled a 1, so they get a 6 total, while I've got a 4, so it's a difference of 2. That's where we're going to take and roll off on this. As long as my leader doesn't take and get shaken here, I should be okay. God, I got lucky there. I should have been absolutely destroyed. So let's walk through real quick and make sure the modifiers we've added there. Leadership modifier, it's not adjacent, not marked with a move modifier, move marker. There's no degrading terrain. The vehicle is not a target's not a vehicle. No passengers. No vehicle mounted machine gun. Not passenger again. Not vehicle. Not helicopter. Not during a night scenario. And we're already established that I have no terrain modifier. Oh, and look right here, maximum terrain modifier 4. It's got it listed down. Pooh. Okay, so we're gonna do that on our little chart here. Our leader is gonna be rolling here and adding 2 to whatever is rolled. His morale is a 6. So a 5 or a 6 is needed to shake him. 1, 2, 3, or 4 will be equal to or less than his morale, which means he'll be okay. 3, so came up to a 5, less than his morale. So he is okay. Now he gets to add his leadership modifier to the rest of the guys underneath him, whose morale is also 6, which means they're now effectively morale 7. So 2 plus the die means that a 6 is the only thing that will shake the units. And that is rolling on the first line right here. So, bam. First guy is a 6. Wow, look at that. Not cool. My guy's got shit. Look at that. And the guy underneath him is a 5. Whew, that was close. Okay, let's take and switch these guys out. I'll take and put my shaking guy on the bottom. And like I was saying earlier, I might take and have the shaking guys fall off and have the medic come up with the rest of my ranger group down here and pick up the guys who get shaken or wounded as they're moving. So that is the first little bit, and we're going to do our ordnance. And right here is the marker for it. You're going to use the leftmost column that is in range. Okay, they're at range 2, so they're using, you see where the top number 2, 3, 4, those are the ranges. At range 2, he gets to use his best chance to hit. And unfortunately for me, without having a target modifier for my guys, this guy's going to be hitting on a 2d6 of 6 or less, which isn't extremely hard to do. So we're going to take a roll on it. And he got 6. He got it. Okay. So you guys get to see now how the RPGs work. Okay. I'm going to grab the book up and I'm just going to walk you down the line on how that works. Normally you would take and add to this roll the target modifier. So if my guys were in a building, I would have been adding 1 or 2 to the roll and then he would have missed. But since they're in the road, they're getting lit all to hell. A roll of a 2 is always going to hit on ordnance, and a 12 is always going to miss. Okay. There is a nice little chart, where are we at here, that is going to take and show you all the good stuff here. Just like the die roll modifiers up here, same type stuff for ordnance. Not turret, they're not marked with assault. What was that? Firing a support, but no, they're not assault moving on that one. Is there anything that's going to subtract to it? Nope, they're not adjacent. So, Oh, here's something neat that I forgot to point out to you guys. This right here is a neat little chart that shows you the shorthand of support weapons and how they work. All right, so that's something to keep in mind. Okay, so when we get to ordnance, once they've hit, if he's hitting something that's not a vehicle, you're not going to use the bottom number, which is your penetration. You're going to be using that number, which is its HE equivalent. And that's the number you're going to take and use against the infantry. So let me grab the book and I'm going to take and walk you right through it. Okay. Is immediately attacked with the ordnance's HE equivalent, which, like I said, is a 2, and plus 1d6. Now, in this attack, it doesn't, these guys do not get any terrain modifiers on this specific roll, even if they were in a building. So regardless if they were on the road, there would be no target modifier. So brown is going to be for the Somalis, white again for the Americans, and they're adding the Somalis are adding the HE equivalent to their roll. See what they get. Oh wow, they are rolling high. At least I rolled high too. So with them rolling a 6 and me rolling a 5, they get a total of 8 versus my 5, which means the differential is 3. Okay. Same thing as when you're attacking. If it's equal to or less than, it has no effect. If it's greater, you're going to take the difference with a damage check, and you're going to take and do the same thing, rolling a single die, and then you're going to add that difference. Okay. I hope that has explained ordnance well for you guys, but basically we're doing another damage check against these guys, all of them in the square with, I'm trying to say this in the right way because I'm trying to make it not confusing. They're getting a damage check at the differential between this. Once you've walked through it and done it, you'll get it, and it's really not that hard. Okay, so like I said, the differential was a 3. We're going to do it against their morale, starting with the leader. Luckily, he's still in good shape. Otherwise, this could have tore me up. 3 plus 3 is 6, so he is okay. That was close. Our second group of guys here, since they're going to get his modifier, they're effectively a 7 instead of a 6. So this is really saving my butt. Ooh, 1. Possibility of a hero. Let me roll off on the last guy and we'll do that hero thing real quick. These guys are okay. And last guys, their morale is still 6 with the modifier up to 7. 3 plus 3. You guys can see that. Yeah, 3 plus 3 is 6. So it ended up not doing any damage. You guys can easily see the benefit of having high morale, because honestly I expected that to have torn me up a lot worse than it did. That is outrageous that they survived as easily as they did there with only 1 shaken unit. All right, now you saw that I rolled a 1 there. Okay, when you roll a 1 doing a damage check, it has the possibility to generate a hero unit. I'm trying to find the chart that tells it. Where's that damn chart? There's one that tells you if it's evens or odds. I think it's even generates a hero and odd doesn't. We're going to go with that because I can't find it on this little chart. But it's one or the other. All right, even, a hero will be generated. Odds, a hero won't be generated. 4, a hero is generated. So we're going to take and grab our, so it's a hero marker, and this is actually the last hero that's in it, I think. This is Hicks. So Hicks is going to join our squad as long as he does not break stacking limits, which he does not because we still have space for extra units here. And my stacking limit tutorial video is already up, just in case you are curious about that. So we're going to add him to our stack of units, and he gets a skill. Does Dave Heroes, sorry for reaching in front of the camera. Does Dave Heroes have skills? I don't think they have skills in Dave Heroes, do they? That's what it is. They don't have skills because I don't have the skill markers in this game. Yeah. Normally you're going to be taking and adding a skill to the guys, but I don't think Dave Heroes has skill markers, so we're not going to worry about it at this point. All right. Wow. So much has happened. Yeah, I have like lost complete track. See, this is why I try not to take and get into the nitty gritty of explaining every small little detail of the game, because I get a little sidetracked on what I'm doing. Okay, they did their thing, which means it's my turn. Only one card's been drawn, so it is my turn. I'll tell you what, since this video has gotten so long, I'm already at 40 minutes, and I try to keep these around half an hour not to bore everybody out. I'm going to take and do my segment of the turn, my impulse, cut the video, go ahead and get it edited and rendered and all that good stuff, get it posted, and I'll go ahead and continue to play it. So you guys will probably get both videos tonight, either both tonight or one tonight, one tomorrow morning, but I'll go ahead and get it filmed and done. But just this way, it'll be broken up and you guys won't have a whole bunch in one go. Okay, what are we gonna do? I need to bust up some of these a-holes who are chewing me up. My original thought process was to take and bring in my helicopter units, but I'm not so sure now. I have the one that I just showed you, the little bird, and then I have the blackbird with a Delta sniper in it. I mean, those guys are okay shots. They're not Marines, you know. Not everybody can be. It's like that old saying, you know, all men were born equal and then a few became Marines. But they're good. They're okay. When a Delta sniper is firing from a helicopter, though, normally snipers fire with a 2d6. If the helicopter is not in hover mode, they only fire with 1d6. But these snipers can move. So that is interesting. They operate differently than other snipers. They can actually get down on the ground and get dirty. So I don't know when I want to bring these guys in. Do I want to shoot first? Do I want to bring the helicopter in and lay some waste? I'll tell you what. Let's bring our helicopter in and try to clear the way and see what we can do here. Because I want to try to clear out this pathway. I'll tell you what, these guys surviving when they were standing in the middle of the road, God was on their side, because I fully expected much more than just one shaken unit there. Okay, who are we going to do? I'll tell you what, I'll show you something neat that these guys can do, the Delta snipers. Different from regular snipers, they can pick their targets. So since this a-hole shot at me, we're going to snipe him and shoot him with machine guns, okay? The Blackbird just has machine guns. Blah, 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 blah. I can get an adjacency bonus by moving right on top of them, or right next to them. Should I go for that? I don't know. All right, let's try it. No guts, no glory. We'll get right on top of them. And since buildings don't really matter for these guys, they're not getting cover, I'm gonna go here. And by the way, when you're moving helicopters, they can go anywhere on the board, okay, and move. But as for op fire, each square counts as one maneuver, and flipping over to hover counts as one maneuver, or one movement point. So I'm gonna have them fly to there and switch to hover mode, which, okay, I'm sticking with that because that's what I decided to do in call, but I'm looking at it now and these guys are in range there. I don't think these guys are in range or line of sight, but these guys are, and if they have an RPG, I think they're going to take a shot at it. I'll tell you what, just for simplicity's sake, because I am getting long, I'm going to take and just ignore their op fire for a minute, get my fire done here on this stack of units, and then cut the video, and we'll continue filming into turn to part 2. So the sniper in the helicopter has to shoot in the same impulse that the helicopter does, or he doesn't get to fire. Keep that in mind. So we're going to do our sniper shot first. He's rolling 2d6 since I am hovering, plus a 1. They have a terrain modifier of 2 for being in a red dotted building. So I'm going to take and roll my 2d6 for my space dice, for my sniper. See what he gets. And I am targeting their leader. That I can do with the Delta Sniper only. Ooh, that's what I'm talking about. He rolled 2 5s, so he's got 10 plus his 1, so he's got 11. This guy is target modifier 2 plus whatever he rolls, so I'm definitely putting some hurt on him. All right, he rolled a 3 plus 2 is 5. All right, so he got his 3 plus his terrain modifier of 2, which got him to 5. All right, and we're gonna take and see if we can knock this guy down. Grab my direct fire table here. He's still in good order, so he's gonna be rolling off right here. And I'm already equal to his morale, with his morale being 5. So anything is gonna shake him at a minimum, and I can wound him if I get equal to or double his morale. So a 5 or 6 is going to wound. And it's a 2. Never mind. He's just going to shake it. But at least that will slow him down a little bit and remove. Well, I don't have to worry about it. Those guys don't rally. So that's their fire. Now, the helicopter is also going to shoot. And this helicopter does not have ordnance. It just has machine guns, which can fire around, and their firepower is a 4. So effectively, the helicopter is shooting with a firepower 4 into their hex. White for the helicopter, brown for these guys. Their target modifier is a 2. Oh, look at that. Rolled a 1, which gives me a 5, and they got a 6 plus 2 is 8. So they beat me. Helicopter did jack and shit. Aren't you just wonderful? All right, so we're gonna mark that here just to cover that they have both fired, and it's in hover mode. I did hover mode so I could try to pick off the sniper, or pick off the leader with the sniper, but it does make the helicopter easier to fire at. So I might have to worry about losing my big Black Hawk there, at which point this really does become Black Hawk down, because there's a neat little thing that happens when the helicopters go down. You're rolling your die off to which direction it's going to go down, and then how many hexes out it goes. All right, but yeah, this is almost yeah, this is right 50 minutes worth of video. So sorry I droned on for a little bit, but I wanted to answer some of those questions at the beginning. I'm gonna break here, get this rendered and posted, and then I'll continue filming, and I'll either have this up later tonight or tomorrow. You guys take care. I'll see you in part 2.